well, this might not go right because I didn't put this in there, or this speech might not be successful because I forgot to mention this, or I got too nervous when looking at this one person so I didn't even continue.
Overthinking. Everybody does it. You do it. I do it. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to not overthink. That's right. I'm going to show you how to stop overthinking everything. Keep on watching. Overthinking is literally when you overcomplicate everything to the point where you're doubting and second guessing yourself on a consistent basis. It's what kills confidence. It's what causes indecisiveness. It's what causes you to put unnecessary energy into a bunch of ideas that you're not even taking action on. All because of this one question. What if? What if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if this is too risky? What if I lose everything? What if I get rejected? All these questions are very theoretical and they have absolutely no substance and no impact on reality whatsoever. That's what the biggest negativity is around overthinking. Like, yeah, these thoughts that come to your head make sense, and it's only human nature to think this way because we have to protect ourselves. That's how we're wired. But what happens when these thoughts negatively impact your future? Because that's what they do. Now, I want to tell you right now, overthinking is totally normal, but I will also argue that it is completely unacceptable. Here's why. There's a form of overthinking where you're constantly wondering and caring about what other people think of you. There's a form of overthinking where you're trying to decide what you should do, what's the right decision, what will the impact be. And then there's a form of overthinking where you're actually questioning what other people's intentions are in your life. And every single one of these, and there's more than these three, but these are the one I want to touch on in this video, they are all negative. So now that you know those three, I'm going to show you how to combat them and how to stop overthinking everything. Because if you overthink in all three of those categories, you probably overthink every aspect of your life, and it's not okay. And we're going to stop overthinking right now. So when you're caring too much about what other people think, it's like you're getting to a point where it's a very unrealistic way of thinking. I say that because you've got to be comfortable in your own skin first. You've got to know yourself. You've got to know who you are, what you stand for, what your core values are, what your beliefs are. And once you know yourself on that level, what people think of you doesn't really matter. But much less caring what other people think of you is going to go way, way down. Because have you ever been in a situation where you're giving a speech and you're like looking around and you're hoping no one knows that you just messed up on that one word, or you said something that was slightly off, or you pronounced the word really weird or something, or as you were walking back that you did a weird walk because you were kind of nervous, or they notice that you're sweating, stuff like that. Basically, when you get so self-conscious to the point where you're like, man, like everybody's looking at me, all eyes on me, even outside of speeches, like people tend to think that all eyes are on them, that they're so important that they don't want to do certain things. For example, some people don't want to FaceTime in public because they feel like everybody's going to be looking at them and listening to what they're talking to. Meanwhile, it's really no different than being on the phone. Like, the difference is you're just looking at your phone instead of having the phone to your ear. But it's stuff like that, little stuff like that, that gets to people, and it makes them think like, gosh, like, what if this person thinks this and what if this person thinks that? And this is a very minor way of looking at it, but it can get to the extremes. Like, some people don't want to share their personal lives, like, yeah, I read, or yeah, I do this, or whatever you do in your personal life, because they're afraid of what people think of them. They're going to think that, oh, I'm lame, or they're going to think, oh, he doesn't do this, or she doesn't do that. And it's like, who cares? Like, do what you freaking want to do, man. This is your life, not theirs. And who cares what they think? They don't know you like you know you. Make sense? The biggest one of these three is overthinking your decisions. It starts off small. Like, what am I going to eat for breakfast? What workout am I going to do today? But then it gets really big, like, which major am I going to choose in college? Where am I going to choose to work at? What city? What state? You know, where am I going to be at? And then it gets even bigger, like, which projects am I going to be working on? How am I going to increase my net worth? What am I going to do? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I have this idea. No, I have that idea. And then you just give all these ideas unsolicited energy, that they don't even deserve, because you're not even going to do half of them because of the thought that it might not work out. And the way that you combat that is by being present in the moment. And you're not perfect, so you're going to absolutely make mistakes. And that's okay. As long as you learn from them, you will be fine and you will be successful no matter what. But you've got to try, and you've got to make a decision. You've got to decide no matter what. So either way, one of those decisions might be right, one of them might be wrong, or both of them might be right, and they just might take you in two totally different directions. But you've got to be present in the moment and use all the information you have at the moment and make an educated guess based off of your previous experiences. And that is how you make a decision. And that is one way to stop overthinking your decisions. Like, there's no point in putting all these hours into,
well, this might not go right because I didn't put this in there, or this speech might not be successful because I forgot to mention this, or I got too nervous when looking at this one person so I didn't even continue.
like, no, forget about all of that. What's all the information you have right now? And how can you apply it to add value to the world? And as long as your intentions are good and you're trying your best, you're using the information that you have, and you're making a decision based off of what you know, that's really all you need. You don't need to overthink. It's not necessary. Literally, it is the biggest waste of time. How many times have you overthought something and next thing you know, it's over with, and it's 10 years later and it doesn't even matter now. Like, you probably can't even remember what you're overthinking about. Like, you might remember that you were overthinking about something, but you probably don't even remember specifically what you were overthinking about, because it does not matter. And another form of overthinking is when you start to overthink the intentions of other people. This is typically what happens to people who have been hurt in the past or betrayed in some way, shape, or form. And it's really messed up, but it's true. Like, they tend to not welcome people who are welcoming and warm and kind because they're not used to that, because they're used to people who act like that to eventually turn on them. And while that way of thinking makes sense, it is a very toxic way of thinking, not only to yourself, but to the people around you, because they're going to feel like you don't trust them or anything like that. And when people are nice to you, and trust me, I have been there. That is the reason why I'm bringing this up. I have totally been there. But, people think that, why is this person being so nice to me? They must have some type of hidden motive. They might be planning to do this or planning to do that. And while that might be a valid way of thinking, you have absolutely no proof of that. So, like I said in the previous tip, you've got to use all the information you have right now to make decisions on what you do. And maybe you and certain people are acquaintances and they're just nice to you, whatever, but I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't need to overthink what other people's intentions are. The biggest takeaway I want you to get from this video is you've got to understand what makes you overthink. For me, when I get out of my comfort zone, I overthink to the max. Like, making this YouTube channel was way out of my comfort zone. And prior to this, I was making videos on Facebook, right? And like, even then, way out of my comfort zone, a bunch of people looking at me talk, and sometimes I ramble, sometimes I stutter, sometimes I feel like I'm going in circles, but I still put it out there. But it made me overthink, like, what if this person doesn't like this? Or what if this video title doesn't, get search results? And what if, forget it, just do it. It is so unproductive to overthink, but what makes you overthink? Is it going out with friends? Is it social events? Is it going to work even? I mean, for the longest time for me, going to work was out of my comfort zone because I had to speak in front of people all the time and I had to lead a big team, and it's a lot at first. So what makes you overthink? But once you know what makes you overthink, I suggest that you write them down. And once you write them down, figure out ways, just with your own way of thinking, how can I combat this? Like, what about this specifically makes me overthink? You'll be surprised at what you come up with, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you overcome overthinking that stuff, because like I said, it's really not worth your time. We all only have 24 hours a day to spend, and I'm just gonna say it, spending most of that day overthinking ain't gonna make anything happen. So in short, stop thinking about what if this, stop thinking about what if that. Who cares what if? You'll never know if you don't try. And if you're not present in the moment, your anxiety will literally eat you alive. You won't be able to make a decision. because you're paralyzed by that anxiety and that fear that's associated with it of what if something goes wrong. So I highly encourage every single one of you, don't think about what if, not in a negative way at least, like think about what if this turns out great? Like how would my life be different if something actually comes out of this? Go for it. Who cares if you get rejected? Who cares if you fail? Who cares if it doesn't work out? Are you gonna die because of it? Probably not. So take risks. Don't overthink so much. I'm never gonna say don't overthink, period, because that's like impossible, but minimize it as much as you can, and I promise you'll be much more of a productive person and you'll be much more successful in life over the long term, and you'll be able to give advice about overthinking, your experience and your journey with it and how you overcame it. And that is how you stop overthinking everything. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I'm Reggie Bryant. I make videos every single week. Control you, control your finances, control your life. Thank you so much for watching.